This is Rock and Roll English. Real people, real English.
Hello everyone. It's just another manic Monday, so that means only one thing. That's right, another episode of Rock and Roll English. So before we begin, I would just like to say thanks to everyone because I've looked at some statistics and I've seen there are listeners in Brazil, China, South Korea, Ecuador, Peru, Taiwan, and all over the world. So thanks everyone for listening. I really didn't think people would be interested in listening to Dan and I talk about ridiculous things every episode, but it seems that people are interested because we have had nearly 1,000 downloads. And I say there we have had present perfect because obviously the action is not finished. The downloads are continuing and I hope they continue a lot more. So a little bit of news for today's show. Unfortunately, Dan the man is no more. Oh, actually, if I say he's no more, that makes it sound like he's dead. He's not dead. He's just in France on holiday. I think the pressure was starting to affect him because we have like 250 Facebook likes or something like that. So I think the sort of being famous was really difficult for him. Although obviously I say that in a sarcastic way, we actually have 1,500 followers on Instagram. So, you know, Dan and I are like the new Beatles, obviously. So Dan isn't here, but the show must go on. So what I've understood is that most people seem to like the stupid stories. So what I thought I would do is tell you a stupid story. It is actually a true story, but before I tell you the story, I just want you to remember one thing. I am not a criminal, okay? Just keep that in your mind through the story and then I will explain it again. But remember, I am definitely not a criminal. Okay, so this was a few years ago. I was with my friend. It was a Saturday afternoon and the sun was shining, which is a strange thing in London. And we went to the pub because anytime the sun shines in London, everyone goes to a pub that has what is known as a beer garden. It's actually just a normal garden, but everyone calls it a beer garden because everyone's obviously drinking beer in the garden. So we sat down, started drinking. But we had a few beers, not too many, but we were a little bit tipsy. So what do I mean by tipsy? So if I have like, I don't know, 3 beers, do you think I'm completely drunk? No, but a little bit, yes. So tipsy is a little bit drunk. So after we had a few beers, we went for something to eat in a nice Italian restaurant. We sat down, had a starter, which was fantastic, and then we ordered a plate of pasta. That's not me eating. I don't eat like an animal, but it's just to keep you interested. Otherwise, you have to keep listening to my boring voice. So I thought some sound effects would make it sound a bit more interesting. So after we had the pasta, we were still a bit hungry. So we said to the man, well, the waiter,
"Please, can I have the menu?"
And he said, "Yeah, sure, no problem. 1 minute." So we waited. And 10 minutes passed and nothing. So we asked him again.
"A menu?"
And again, he replied, "Yep, sure, 1 minute, I'll just get it." So we waited again. Another 10 minutes passed and again.
"A menu!"
And the answer came back one more time. "Yep, no problem, I'll just get it." And we were waiting again. And then after about 10 more minutes, my friend said to me, "Look, they've forgotten about us. Let's just go. We're sitting outside. We will just stand up and casually walk away. And if they say anything, we'll just say, well, we thought you had forgotten about us." Notice there I say you had forgotten about us. And because I was a little bit tipsy, remember, a little bit drunk, I thought, that sounds like a good idea. So that's what we did. We stood up and casually walked away. And, well, it seemed everything was fine. So we continued our evening, had a few more drinks, and then said goodbye to each other and went home. So early the next morning, I received a phone call from my friend. And he was saying, what did we do? We need to go back and pay. And I thought, yeah, it was stupid, but it looks even more stupid now if we go back and pay. So I said, look, no, it's finished now. Let's just forget about it. Anyway, I didn't really think much of it. So this was now Sunday. And when we got to Tuesday, and my friend worked very near me, so we decided to go for lunch together. And he was still saying to me, look, we need to go back and pay. And I said to him, look, what are you talking about? We will look absolutely ridiculous. We've got away with it. It's fine. And so when I say there, we've got away with it, that's actually a phrasal verb of to get away with something, which means to escape without any punishment when you do something wrong. Obviously, we did something wrong of not paying for the meal, and we were not punished, or that's what we thought anyway. So I went back to work, and I was just about to leave when my phone rang. It was an ex-girlfriend, which was strange. She was calling me on a Tuesday at 5 p.m. when she knew I would be at work. And so I thought, oh, this is strange. But I answered anyway. So I said, hello. And immediately, she didn't ask me how I was or anything like that. She just said, what did you do on Saturday night? So alarm bells started ringing at this point. So I said, well, I just went out with my friend. You? She didn't respond to my question. And she said to me, did you go to Olio's restaurant, which is the name of the restaurant I went to? And I said, yeah, why? And then she came back and said, did you go away without paying? And I said, yes. How do you know that? And then she said to me, because I've just been on Facebook and I have seen they have published your pictures from the CCTV cameras and have published a post that says, can you help us find these two people that went away without paying? So at this point, I thought, uh-oh, we're in trouble. Yep, big trouble. And obviously, I started to panic quite a lot. I couldn't actually speak because I looked on Facebook and could see my picture and I looked like a criminal. But remember, I'm definitely not a criminal. So I hung up the phone. So when I say I hung up the phone, it just means I closed the phone. It's the past of the phrasal verb hang up, which is a common expression to say to close the phone. Normally in quite a quick and rude way like this. So I ran out of the office and got on the train. And obviously, when you're on the train, everyone looks at their phones. And I was thinking, someone could be looking at the picture of me on their phone at this point. So I was going back to the restaurant. I didn't really know what to do. So I called my friend, but he was engaged. So when I say engaged, I mean the line was busy, obviously. So I kept calling him, but still the same, constantly engaged. Then I finally got through to him. So when it means I got through, it's another phrasal verb used for the telephone when you are finally able to connect with someone. And I said to him, look, this is the situation. What are we going to do? And being the great friend he is, he said, well, why don't you just go and pay and don't mention my name? And I thought, oh, yeah, that sounds amazing. Thanks. And he said to me, it was their fault anyway. So basically saying the responsibility was theirs because they didn't bring the menu. So tell them it was their fault. And I said, look, we are in trouble here. I don't want to make the situation any worse. So I arrived in the restaurant and they looked at me and said, you're a fucking piece of shit. And they were right. I was a piece of shit. Actually, they didn't say that. They were actually nicer than that. But you could tell by the look on their face that they were not happy. So I begged for forgiveness and said, look, I'm very sorry, blah, blah, blah. And he said, do you want me to take another picture of us to say everything's okay now? I said, look, please, enough photos have been taken. Please, can you just take that photo off Facebook and let's forget the situation? So yeah, that's my story. So the one time I did anything like this, it seems the police wanted me dead or alive. But before I go, just remember one thing. I am not a criminal, okay? I am definitely not a criminal. I nearly forgot to have a recap of the rock and roll vocabulary. We had a lot of phone vocabulary today. Remember, there was hang up, which is to close the conversation. There was engaged, which is when you are trying to call someone and the line is busy and it makes this noise. And after you are engaged for a long time, normally you say, finally, I got through to the person, which is a phrasal verb, to get through to someone. The most rock and roll piece was to get away with something, which, as I said, means to do something wrong and then to not be punished. But obviously, as you know in this story, my friend and I did not get away with this. In fact, the complete opposite of getting away with it. And tipsy, which is another very important word in England, which is when you are a little bit drunk. I must also say I've missed Dan the Man on this show. It seems he's not as useless as I think. So when he gets back from France, he will be able to join me in talking about ridiculous things and giving you lots of rock and roll vocabulary. So thanks again, as always, for listening. Remember to find us on Facebook and Instagram. 250 likes on Facebook, if you're asking. As I mentioned in the show, we are famous. Okay, thanks a lot, and we'll see you on Thursday.
Thanks so much for listening to Rock and Roll English. For more great content and to stay up to date, visit rockandrollenglish.com and facebook.com/rockandrollenglish. We'll catch you next time.